Hello everybody and welcome back to a new episode of G-Bear Homesteading the Desert. Today is June 24th, I think it is, or 23rd. Anyway, it's Saturday. And I got up this morning and it was nice. It was a little cooler than it has been. It was in the 70s this morning when I woke up. And it held into the 80s until just before noon, and then it climbed up into the hundreds. We just broke 100, 102, 101, 101, 102, somewhere in there. And back and forth and fluctuating. The wind has come up now, so I got my natural air conditioning running. But anyway, what you're looking at here is I installed the blocks I needed in between the floor joists here. And the reason for that is this is 10 feet across. So an 8-foot piece of 1-inch thick tongue and groove flooring will come halfway across here, and then the next little 2-foot piece will join into it, and it'll have a nice solid area below the seam, so I don't have to worry about the seams rippling. Usually I try to get align them so the tongue and groove works, but the way this is going to work out is 5 sheets, 4 whole sheets, and then 1 sheet cut into 2-foot pieces. So only 2 of those are going to have the tongue and groove on the ends of them. The others won't. So I could get my router out and cut a tongue or a groove on them if I wanted to, but it's just as easy to do a joint where I put in construction adhesive, squash the 2 joints together, let the construction adhesive come up out of the joint, and then scrape it off, and then fasten it above a block like that. Now you see I alternated them so that they won't all be aligned. So it's going to start with the 8-footer there, and then the 2-footer, and then an 8-footer here, and a 2-footer, then an 8-footer here, and a 2-footer, and then the last one would be an 8-footer there, and a 2-footer, because this is 16 feet. Now there is going to be a gap between the old wall and the new bathroom wall. That's why you see there's a space there where the propane line and the sink drain comes up. That'll be inside the wall, but that's going to give me about a 6 or a 7-inch space between the two. And I'm going to use that because that's an air vent that allows air to get into the wall heater that's in that room. Also, I've decided that there'll be another wall that runs right where this vent is, which is the toilet vent. Excuse my fingers there, I had to adjust the phone. But there'll be another wall here that'll be separating the bathroom from the bedroom. And in that wall, I'm going to bring the hot and cold water under the floor and have it ready to stub up into the wall. So I put my shower is going to go in that corner, and I'll put my shower valve on the west wall of the shower. So I think that'll work out best. And then, of course, I'll have to tee off of it there and put the water lines for the bathroom sink over there. And then I have to bring 1 cold water line over here for the toilet. All right, so I wanted to get that past you. And as you can see over here, I brought another barrel over because in between the containers, I started moving things around. You see my other 2 storage barrels here. One of these is down to about 10 gallons in the bottom of it in this one. And that one, I took it down about 1/3 of the way so that it was movable with my hand truck. And I got that out of there, and I got my doors stood back up again. And one of them took some damage when it fell, but that's okay because I'm going to be taking those apart and just using the glass from them anyway. This big one, I may end up just putting that when I put a wall across between these 2 containers, because I'm going to get a 3rd work area in here between the 2 containers, work and storage. And I'll put a wall on here, and I'm thinking I might just install that door right in the middle of this wall right here, so that on the really hot days, I can slide that door open and let the wind blow through. I can also enter or exit through there if I come up this side, and just to get some things. And on the other side, I'm going to have 2 big barn doors So instead of having to open up the big barn doors just to get in here and get an item out, I can just come on this side and slide the glass door open, get what I want. Of course, I will have to do something about the sun beating on there, because those will be facing south, so they're going to take sun all day. Just a thought. I might end up just using those to build my greenhouse for my citrus plants for the winter. Who knows? Things change every day out here. You know, sometimes I get a plan going and then I change my mind and I do something differently. All right. As you're looking at down there at the garden house, I threw a couple of plant cloths. They're shade cloths that you usually wrap around a tree or a plant to protect them. And I just threw those up temporarily until I get some more of the black shade cloth, so that I could give the plants a little relief from the beating 100-degree sun. And it seems to be working. So we'll move on down here and I'll show you what else I did down here. All right, coming inside the garden house, look at that. I've got the self-watering gutter garden started here. You see the hose that comes off of one of the water barrels there. It goes down and it connects to my valve that's going inside here. And I just made this little snap over cover here. There's my float valve in there, which will control the water flow. Now these extra high pipes on the top here, those will not stay. Those are just there so that while I'm putting the soil in, I don't get dirt down inside of the gutter. And that's perfectly level now. It's leveled across this way and it's leveled this way. And the box is within a 1/16 of a bubble level also. So I'll be planting some other plants in between these. And I did start putting some of the soil here to show you how it's actually going to be buried. Now, this will end up coming off of here like that when I'm ready to put my buckets on there. And the bucket will have this grow basket sticking out the bottom of the bucket, wrapped in a weed cloth so that the roots won't go through it and get down into my water. And that's going to sit right down in there like that, which will pick up water and wick it up into the soil for the plants automatically. So that water will stay turned on over there all the time, and this thing will stay filled as long as there's water in the barrel. And I won't have to come out and water these all the time. Now on my other stuff here, you see I got another garden hose here coming off a second barrel. And I just got this one from my friend Tom, and he had cut off the end or something, but I put a new end on it. And then I've got a double valve on there. But I can open that up and water these plants as I go. Now you see some little plants coming up here. I forget what I planted in there. I think it's squash. And who knows? But we'll find out when it gets a little bit bigger. I forgot to leave the paper behind, or the envelope, because I sprinkled some cilantro seed in here, but that cilantro seed is very old. I don't know if any of it's going to take, but we'll see. Potatoes, they're coming up very well. My sweet potatoes, look at the size of those leaves already, just in a couple of days. My little holly oak tree, and my, I'll get the name of these. I looked it up once, but these are just really good shade trees. When these grow up taller, they really have a nice bonnet on them, and they give you good shade. I took the screen off of my carrots, my C130 carrots, and you can see that they're doing pretty good in there. My Sunions, I got some good size onions down there, so I'll be getting into those pretty soon. I also have some seeds coming out here, and as soon as those drop a couple of seeds down inside, you see the little insect there that's pollinating my plants for me. That's how I planned this, is so that the critters can't get in here and get to my plants, but those little insects can. I ate 2 of the tomatoes, or 3 of the tomatoes so far off of this one. I still got a couple of green ones and some more coming out, and I got one more red one there that'll be lunch tomorrow. This one is, well, the leaves are curling a little bit, but I've seen some buds coming out, so we'll see what I'll probably going to have to adjust the moisture on those. This bucket is pretty heavy, so I know there's water down in the bottom, but I don't think the roots are getting down to that water. So I might have to do a little correction on that and drill a drain hole in there, let the extra water out, and then keep watering them from the top. This is the other one that I got from Vince. I'll be pulling some of those suckers off pretty soon and see where we go from there. My potatoes still has some fresh new sprouts on it, but this one's getting ready to harvest. That's why I got those other potatoes going. My peppers, they're springing right up, and the corn not looking very healthy. It's been very hot and windy, and they're all blown over. But once I get the other box garden down in there, excuse me. Once I get the other box garden down in here, I'll be putting just corn in that box garden, and it'll be able to grow in the regular soil instead of in buckets. I think it'll probably do better from there. So I may not get any corn this year, but that's okay. It's cheap. I've seen it for $4 already, and really good sweet California corn. These are my clones that I air layered, and you see all fresh buds coming out on here. So they're liking it here. Those little greens down in there, those are actually an herb, and they're good for settling an upset stomach. So I let them grow, and there's some more down in there that are growing around the aloe vera. I let those grow, and every now and then I break a sprig off and toss it into the hens, and they go crazy for it. As you can see, I moved the trees around a little bit, just twisted them and broke up the entanglement so they got a little air between them. And I'll be spreading these out a little bit more still. I got some dandelions growing down in here. The chickens like those too. So I'll just let them grow, and I'll pick them a little at a time and feed them to the chickens. There's also a volunteer grapevine down there coming up, so see what we get out of that. All right. That's about it inside the garden house. And you see I still have some more bags here of the compost. That's going to be to fill in the rest of this. And then I've got to get my buckets, and I will show you those buckets tomorrow's video. I'll be working on those tomorrow, drilling them out, getting them fitted for the grow baskets, getting them wrapped in their the weed cloth, the weed barrier, and ready to set down on top of these. I don't know if I have enough garden soil to fill all the buckets, and I can't put them out here unless they got some soil in them, because the winds will blow them away. All right. Also, when I get the rest of that filled in tomorrow, I'll be in tomorrow's video. I'll show you how I turn the water on and how the gutter fills up. All right. Let's move on over to the chicken coop. And I just promised a new subscriber that I would show him some stuff that I did here. You can see the plywood leaning up against the end there. They seem to really like it like that. It shades the water at this late afternoon time. So the last 4 and 5 hours are where the sun is in the western sky. Their food and water is still in the shade, and they've got some shade to hang out in. Now, I had some frozen hash browns in the freezer that had been sitting in that freezer now for about 6 months. So they were frostbitten, and I said, well, I'll bring those out and give them a treat. And they seemed to like them. They were hanging around that one over there and pecking at it and getting that nice icy treat, nice cold treat. And this one is just going at the egg lay feed. So I'm probably going to see some eggs coming out of that. All right, inside the coop, I got another thing. I bought some of those ceramic eggs I told you about, and there's one in that nest right there. Now, they look like a real egg, so I had to put an X on them so I don't end up picking up the wrong ones and putting them into the egg crates when I'm collecting eggs. And this one has already got 2 more eggs in it. And then I looked and I could see the difference between that one and these. These have little speckles on them and that one's just clear. So I can tell the difference. I wonder if the hens can. But the idea is with these ceramic eggs is that if you leave eggs in the nesting, it promotes egg laying. And also, if the hen tries to peck at the egg and break it open, they realize they can't, so they don't peck at them anymore. Okay, there's another ceramic egg in there and another ceramic egg in there. No other fresh eggs laid. But I have a full dozen. I've eaten 2 eggs each morning since I got back. And I still have a full dozen inside. And as you saw, I've got 2 more out here. So I'll have 2 for breakfast, and then those 2 will come in. But by the time breakfast comes around, I'll probably have 4 or 6 in there. All right. That's about all we have for today. I think I'm going to soak in the tub tonight because the wind is blowing, and it's kind of hard to take an outdoor shower when the wind is blowing because it blows the water away from the valve. It doesn't actually come down on you, and it's a waste of water. And I still want to put a pan underneath that shower and catch that water that I'm using for showering and reuse it for irrigation. You can see I got 1/3 of a barrel because I did laundry yesterday. I got 1/3 of a barrel of laundry water. And I'm thinking what I might end up doing is going over to Home Depot and picking up 2 rows of sod. That's grass already in the dirt and everything. And then laying them out right underneath the coop. And then this garden hose comes off of my gray water barrel out back. And you can see it actually supports grass out here, and it's supporting those 2 bushes and keeping them green. So I'm going to move that hose down and put it right by the chicken coop to where the water runs underneath the 2 items of sod that I have in there. And then the chickens can have some greens to peck at and some nice soft grass to lay down on during the day and be nice and cool in there. I'm also thinking about hooking up a Hudson sprayer over there, and I'll put the wand underneath the coop with a fan mist on it. So I can go over there every now and then and just hit the button on there and let it spray some cool misty water on there on a really hot days. I did notice when I was cleaning out their little water drinker underneath there, I do it over by that barrel, and I noticed that when I take the excess water and I throw it underneath the coop into these little holes they dug, they go over there and they lay down in that cool, damp soil. Another thing I thought about doing was taking one of those concrete mixing buckets and digging a hole out there in the middle of the run and set that down inside the ground so that it stays there and doesn't blow away in the wind. And then fill that with about 2 inches of water and give them a little pond where they could just walk in if they want to and cool off. A couple of ideas that I'm tossing around. That's about it for today, everybody. G Bear signing off.